expert. Maybe you learned something.
No, I don't want to learn nothing.
I know of an actress who made the hit Parade. Stars like her, she had it made. Yes, those were the days when Jean Stapleton was the star everyone could aspire to be. She would call Edith Bunker a doormat, but Jean herself was anything but. A sincere powerhouse of the acting world, on stage, on the big screen, and of course on the tube. Forget everything you thought you knew about typical actors, because Jean went completely against the grain. So, what did she really think about Edith? Did this workaholic ever get to start a family? Why did she leave her biggest role and then turn down a promising one in another famous show? Well, I'm your host, Nostalgic Nick, with all these answers and more. So if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel so you catch all our deep dives. But without further ado, let's get to it. Was Jean Stapleton a trained singer? Before she became the face of the long-suffering Bunker matriarch, Jean Stapleton was a powerhouse of an actor, a triple threat in the industry. The daughter of an opera singer, she dominated the Broadway stage with hit performances in The Bells Are Ringing, Damn Yankees, and a ton more. Alright, that's theater fame established. Where to next? How about television? And what a lineup Jean amassed, including Dr. Kildare, My Three Sons, Dennis the Menace, Naked City, and The Defenders. That particular episode, The Hidden Jungle, put her alongside another actor by the name of Carol O'Connor. Look, early Bunker family relations. And let's throw in a few film credits to keep the variety going. Something Wild, Clute, and Cold Turkey by Norman Lear. Keeping her fingers in many pies paid off. Jean went on to win 3 Emmys and 2 Golden Globes, at one point displacing the legendary Mary Tyler Moore for the big win. Not too many people can say they pulled that off. Why did Jean Stapleton leave All in the Family? You couldn't have asked for a better Edith, with Jean Stapleton, whose experience was tailor-made for the job. Jean's on record saying the image of a character shaped how she'd talk for them. So when she got a good feel for Edith, Jean went out of her way to make her voice higher.
Ain't that interesting?
Good thing she had years of training on Broadway, no less, carrying her voice just how she needed to. Of course, with television stardom came the fear of the wretched typecasting, an actor's worst nightmare, besides unemployment. Jean has admitted, quote, "There's a whole personality basis for casting in Hollywood, and I'm not a personality gal." Well, especially not Edith's personality. Jean has called the Bunker matriarch submissive, naive, uneducated, and tied to the house. Basically, it's the exact opposite of what Jean hoped for American Housewives. But she did praise Edith's strengths, like her unfailing ability to point out the truth and put a crimp in Archie's ego. But this philosophical disagreement wasn't what drove Jean away from All in the Family, nor was it a caste conflict. In fact, she was very close friends with her TV buddy Isabel Sanford, aka Louise Jefferson, to the point that when Sanford was setting off on her own series, The Jeffersons, Jean shed very real tears when they said goodbye. In fact, Jean's eyes were red from how much she cried saying bye to not just a colleague, but a real best friend. And Jean, of course, had been a person that Sanford sobbed when she said goodbye to, too. Heck, I think I need some tissues here. So, in actuality, Jean's departure and her reasoning for it was totally different from typical Hollywood breakups. She was Edith all through the 70s, but just for 5 episodes of Archie Bunker's Place, because by that point, Jean truly believed her character's story was complete, and so was she. It was the middle of season 9 when she first gave a heads up her plans to leave. The most popular headline at that time was Edith Quits. It was also Jean's least favorite take on her departure, and she argued, quote, "Quit makes it sound as if I was leaving in anger or with something unfinished. It just isn't so. I love Edith. She changed my life. She just didn't want Jean and Edith to become one." But while Jean had to remind a depressed Norman Lear that Edith is just a fictional character, Lear told her that to him, Edith was quite real. Part of that is because Edith was based on Norman's own mother, and Jean did the role so much justice, Norman loved it so. What did Jean Stapleton do after leaving All in the Family?
And this is for you, Archie.
How do you follow up over 200 episodes as one of the most iconic TV characters of all time? With another famous role? Well, actually no, almost though. In 1983, a newly freed Jean was approached with an offer to play murder mystery novelist Jessica Fletcher in Murder, She Wrote, an upcoming CBS crime drama. It would go on to run from 1984 to 1996, a role spanning over 260 episodes. Talk about the dream and a far cry from what Jean was coming out of as Edith. So why did Jean turn down the role? The answer is All in the Family. Jean explained, quote, "I had just come off of 8.5 years on a series. It didn't seem to be the kind of role that I could really get my teeth into. Actors act, they don't stay the same character forever." She also believed the environment was resistant to change and just a lot more stringent than what she enjoyed on All in the Family. In the end, the role of course went to Angela Lansbury, and there were several times Angela would reach out and give Jean a huge thank you for the job. So what did Jean do? Not talk shows, that's for sure. She found it hard to keep talking about herself, and any time spent not on a talk show was a good time for Stapleton. But she could be seen in You've Got Mail, led by Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks, along with Michael starring John Travolta. Her first loves were theater and character work, so she never sought out a leading role, except for her excellent performance in the one-woman show Eleanor, where she played FDR's wife. I think my favorite guest roles of hers are from Everybody Loves Raymond and Murphy Brown. But get this, it wasn't until the 2000s that Jean could finally watch and appreciate All in the Family. And when she finally did, she'd laugh and call it very clever. Well, we couldn't agree more. Who is Jean Stapleton related to? With all the work Jean did, she has a resume that could fill a phone book. But between all these projects, she did manage to meet her one true love, William Pudge. They met through what else? Theater. He was a stage manager, and Jean was invited by mutual friends to meet him. When they knew their love was meant to be, William actually proposed to Jean in Pennsylvania's Totem Pole Playhouse, where he ran summer stock theater. They tied the knot and had 2 kids together, and while William kept up his theater work for 30 years, Jean performed there a lot. Some of William's other credits include Charlie's Angels. Sadly, however, their love story was cut short when William died in 1983 from a heart attack. Jean never remarried after losing her husband of 26 years. Although her whole life was about the arts, those who knew her said she was very down to earth. Jean and William both hated New York and big cities in general. People in the Big Apple always took Jean's photo without permission. Gosh, just imagine living in the modern era. So instead of living it up in the limelight of Hollywood or New York, they stayed in rural Pennsylvania. The entire family preferred log cabin living over the California home. After all, as Jean put it, she was not a star. She was a human being who could act. Did Jean Stapleton have any grandchildren? Jean and her husband ended up having 2 kids, John and Pamela. With 2 titans of the industry as parents, of course the kids picked up a thing or 2. They both forged their careers in entertainment as well. John is an actor and filmmaker whose credits include One Day at a Time and Jaws 3D. His film debut, Waiting to Act, starred Helen Hunt and Lance Guest. Meanwhile, Pamela is a TV producer. On top of that, yes, Jean also has grandchildren. While it's confirmed John married his sweetheart, Julie, there is no confirmation on which kid the grandkids come from. What caused the death of Jean Stapleton? Unlike so many legends who self-destruct or get their lives snuffed out by chance, Jean Stapleton got to live a very long and very full life. She was a whopping 90 years old when she passed away on May 31st, 2013. It's heartbreaking to think of her gone forever, but fortunately she had a peaceful end. Jean died quietly of natural causes at her home. She was surrounded by friends and family as she left. It's just the kind of ending you hope for, and one Jean certainly deserved. But that doesn't fix the huge hole left in a lot of people's hearts. All in the Family co-star Rob Reiner called working with Jean one of the best experiences of his life. Norman Lear praised the lessons of humanity that Jean taught everyone around her. The week of Jean's passing, Broadway dimmed its marquee lights in an act of mourning. Jean Stapleton was a woman who lived many lives thanks to her skilled acting and her determination to remain herself. She is the definition of a legend without ever wanting to call herself one. She was all business, but made time for family and managed to become a part of families across America and the world. So we want to know, what was your favorite Edith Bunker moment? Did you miss Edith in Archie Bunker's place? Do you have a favorite film or TV appearance that wasn't her Edith? Get in the comments and tell us all things Jean Stapleton. Did anyone get to see her on Broadway? Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed our video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives like this. While you're in the comments section, tell us who else we should cover. But from all of us here at Do You Remember, we simply want to thank you for watching.
I mean, so long.